Welcome, everyone. I'm Molly Devine, and I'm the Individual Giving Manager with Women Who Code. Thank you for joining today's session. The talent system is broken, designing better ways to hire. Please welcome our amazing speaker, Odette Nemes. Odette is a queer woman who migrated to the United States from Puerto Rico. She has dedicated her career to addressing racial and gender inequalities by building and managing programs that inspire people to reach their full potential. She is proud to be head of growth at Onramp, a company that builds custom technical apprenticeships for clients such as Twitch, Amazon, and Coinbase, just to name a few. For over 12 years at Girls Inc., Odette collaborated with corporate partners to design and scale programs to get girls of color from Oakland and New York City interested in careers in STEM and finance. She leveraged her strategic leadership and relationship building skills to launch the first Girls Resource Center in Alameda County, where she doesn't where when she doesn't good gravy guys when she doesn't have her hands full with two kids, she enjoys pickup basketball games and attending concerts and musicals. Thank you, Odette, for being here today. I will now pass the session over to you.
All right, super happy to be here. Can we give it up for the Women Who Code team, please? They have been hustling, planning this conference, taking us through today. So Molly, nobody's sick of you. You've been great. And a great follow-up to Christy and all the content that she was sharing. Super excited to be here with you all. If you can see the slide, first in the chat, I'd love to hear from you all. First and foremost, happy Women's History Month. What is exciting you the most about this Women's Who Code conference, and what do you want to walk away with from this session? So for me, I'm all about sharing and excitement and positive energy and verbalizing what you want to see happen. And you never know who's in the room and who you can connect with. So let's get this. Let's network, network, network. It's critical. You've heard this all day long. Let's support each other. And I'm all about participating, connecting, and uplifting. So go ahead and throw that in the chat as we get started here and see where everybody's at. So you heard from Molly. Thank you for joining me here in this session. The talent system is broken. As we see, yes, some folks are already snapping to that. We'll be talking about finding better ways to hire today. And my name is Odette Nemes. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. And as was mentioned, I'm the head of growth at OnRamp. At the end of the time, if you've seen, we'll have time for Q&A. The fabulous team here will flag some questions for me. And if I don't get to it, feel free to email me or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm a little weak on Twitter, but it's there for you. So those are the best ways to get in touch with me. So we are going to get started here. I'm just super duper excited for many reasons. The first time I was at this conference actually was 5 years ago. That's when my daughter was 1. You can see the picture there of Camila. She turned 6 next week. That's a picture of her for Halloween. She was dressed up as Sonia Sotomayor, and I was her #1 fan. So it was 5 years ago, and I had just quit my job in the nonprofit space and was really, seriously starting to explore my transition into tech. And, I knew I had to go to conferences and build my network, to be able to see what the space was all about. I actually had a friend who worked at Women Who Code, and she offered me a scholarship ticket to attend the conference. It was the second tech conference I had ever been to, and I was super overwhelmed, anxious, not sure how to navigate the space, and if I could make this jump happen. And I remember walking out of that conference thinking, ooh, that was a lot, but there is an incredible network here, and I think that I can do this. So for me, here I am today presenting. It feels very full circle for me. And I'm just feeling really proud to be here today, if you can't tell by all my cheesing. So to give you a little bit of an agenda and overview of what we're going to do today, you'll hear a bit about my story and introduce myself. And the broken talent system, we'll be diving into there for sure. We'll be jumping into apprenticeships and why they're so critical. And maybe y'all are thinking, well, why now? We'll be jumping into that too. Next steps, if you're interested in setting one up, and of course, our Q&A. So to introduce myself a little bit more, I know you heard the bio, but I just want you all to brace yourselves a little bit. I am a straight shooter. I was born in Puerto Rico, and then I grew up in Jersey. So I can't really help it. And, we're here at Women Who Code, among family. And I'm not going to be walking on eggshells. I'll be calling some things out. So I need to start with my experience. It really frames my presentation, my identity, my journey, and my transition into tech, and now my work here at Onramp. And it's why my journey and my path are why I'm here today. And I'm honored to share this story and talk about why why the hiring system in tech is so broken. So I grew up really interested in everything girls weren't supposed to be doing. Right, I was really interested in sports. I still play to this day, still getting injured playing basketball. I love math. I love science. I love tech. I even liked girls. So I checked a lot of boxes, for me. I'm a lesbian. I'm Puerto Rican. I moved to the States when I was 5. So I'm an immigrant. I'm an English language learner. I'm a single mom. And I ended up studying, I got into Duke, and I entered into the engineering school. And it was a struggle, to be honest. I did not feel connected. As far as I could tell in the rooms, I was the only Latina. As far as I could tell, I was the only lesbian. Sometimes I was the only cis woman. And I felt, really isolated and disconnected. And I couldn't understand how engineering was going to be relevant in my life. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any community. And I started gearing toward, taking women's studies classes and taking African American studies classes. And engineering just wasn't resonating for me. So I actually transferred out of the engineering school and graduated with a psych degree. So that led me, I graduated. I had a few jobs in nonprofits working with Latino folks. And I landed at Girls Inc. Doing work there to expose girls to careers where they're underrepresented, especially in STEM. Because I didn't want anybody else, to change their major or their path because they didn't feel like they belonged or they were going to be wasting their potential. So it was almost 20 years ago now, which just feels ridiculous to me. I worked with a team, to develop curriculum to teach girls HTML, to teach them design thinking and game design and object-oriented programming. This was very cutting edge 20 years ago, working with corporate groups and scaling those programs across the country. I'm really happy to see now that those programs are all over the country, and there's so many nonprofits dedicated to this work. So I was there for 12 years, and then I wanted to be home with my child, Camila, who you saw, who had just turned 1. The plan was just to stay home for a little bit, have a second kid, get back to work. But the universe was not about it. I had my second kid, Lucas. He's there at the pumpkin patch with us. And I started looking for work, getting final interviews, getting ready to get back into it. And then the pandemic hit. And they closed my kids' schools and nobody was hiring. So I was like, all right, I guess that I'm going to stay home with these kids a little bit longer. And then my marriage fell apart. Well, it was already falling apart, but it's for another day. And I found myself in the middle of getting a divorce while I was at home, unemployed, with 2 little kids, and out of work for 3 years. And it was really overwhelming. It was a super hard time. But most important for me is I needed to find a job where I could pay my mortgage in the Bay Area in Oakland, where I could put food on the table for my kids, and provide everything that I needed for them to support my family on my own. So it was super stressful. My options were limited. And, I felt that I really needed to make this move into tech, that this was the time. My hand was forced. There's no lollygagging, going to conferences, taking my time. I needed to jump in right away. So I got a lot of no's. People did not take my experience seriously. There's a lot of bias out there for folks transitioning into tech. You've heard this all day long. And for nonprofit work, not being real work. And there's just so much talent out there outside of the tech industry that needs to be leveraged. I could give a whole talk about that, but I'm not going to. So I'll just put that out there and we'll digress. So that was what was happening for me. But luckily, my network pulled through. The hiring process should not work like this, right? luckily I had a friend to connect me to different places and was landing interviews. But it really puts us as women, as queer folks, as folks of color at a tremendous disadvantage. It's just another example of how the system is broken. That companies are only reviewing applications from referrals, because people that look like us, are barely in house to refer us. So, I connected with a former coworker of mine. She's there up on the slide, Jennifer Tashif. She's the one who scored me a free ticket to the conference 5 years earlier, a former Women Who Code staff member. And she told me about this place. She was like, check out this place, Onramp. I'm on the advisory board on there, and I'd never heard of it. And the first thing that I saw was Letitia Thomas. I was like, time out. The founder and the CEO is a Black woman. And then I saw that everybody on the team was underrepresented, and from top to bottom. And then I saw the stats. They're working with Twitch and Blend and Coinbase and Pandora. 75% BIPOC, 67% women, 25% LGBTQ. I thought, all right, these folks are really doing it and practicing what they preach, and you rarely see that. So, I jumped on it. I got the job. Super proud to be here, and super proud to work toward this mission of folks who, designed the model at Onramp to combat this hiring system, the broken hiring system, to support folks who are transitioning into tech. Letitia came from the bootcamp space. Folks worked at Google, at Amazon, and DEI at startups. And they really were trying to solve for why is it that these bootcamp grads can't get these jobs, and these self-taught folks can't get these jobs, and how come companies aren't hiring them, and to help fill that gap. So that's what Onramp does. It's helping companies upskill their applicants and train them to make sure that they're successful, in apprenticeship. So 95% convert to full-time employees. Folks are tripling their salaries. It's life-changing work. So here I am today. The universe aligned for me almost 2 years ago now. The week before my first day of work, my kids' daycare opened. So after being closed for 1 year. So yes, I thank my lucky stars, I must say. So, oh yes, and Bali, hey, is a great partner of ours. They're on the slides. So now I'd love it, if folks can just throw into the chat too. I see some of this is already happening naturally, which is great. But, is there anything from my story that resonated with you? And is there anything that you want to share about your story that you're proud of? I know that we're virtual, but I like to do my best to bring everybody into this space, to bring their whole selves. So feel free to share about your story. If you don't, no problem. I just do find that it's critical for us to build relationships, to build connections, and for everybody to realize, like, when this shit is really hard, right? When it hits the fan, we will overcome these obstacles. We can make our dreams come true, but we can't do it by ourselves, right? And it's important to remember, how resilient and how powerful we are. And when things are tough and things are really overwhelming. So it's amazing that everybody's even here, in this space. It's no small feat, and that we're here together. And if you're thinking about all the obstacles that you've overcome to be here, just take a moment, please, to be proud of yourself, and to, pat yourself on the back. And it's fitting that, we just started off Women's History Month. The folks in this room are making history, right? Y'all are onlys, in your spaces. You're the first, you're leading teams, you're changing cultures, you're being bold. And let's remember, that there are folks here leading companies, starting companies, and that it doesn't have to be this hard, right? Being in tech shouldn't be this hard. Breaking into this industry, changing the world shouldn't be this hard. So thank you to all of you for sharing your stories, and being powerful and amazing women. So let's get at it here. And I'm trying to keep up with the chat. So, but I see the team of Women Who Code is crushing it for me, though. So thank you all. I appreciate it. So we're going to jump in here, right? When we're going to get into this about the talent system, and how it is broken, especially when it comes to the position that you are in. Some of you could probably give this talk. let's get back into the chat here and think about how have you seen it? What experiences have you been through? Any specifics of this talent broken system? If you can share some specific examples, that would be great. And if you don't feel like taking that route and going back down memory lane and those traumatic experiences, maybe, what would you like to see changed in the talent system, right? So some examples that I gave, you know, is that not taking my experience seriously. This system is working very well for cis white men, but that's about it, right? Not for the rest of us. Other things like my network, luckily I was connected to Jennifer, but if I hadn't been, I would have never known about this company, about Onramp, about the opportunities that were out there. I would have never been able to get interviews. So there are obstacles too when you're taking care of kids. How are you going to get to this interview? Who's going to take care of your kid? How are you going to commute? How are you going to travel? The list is endless. So yes, even too much experience is coming up in the chat. The style of interviews, yes, and applying to jobs is a part-time job. Who has the resources and time to do that? For some folks, they would say a full-time job. So great. Thank you for your examples here. The folks trying to transition in, I see there, and yes, and an inefficient process is killer. So let's get in here with the talent system and some things that I just want to call out, right? We hear so much about, oh, this is a pipeline problem. This is a pipeline problem. Folks, we know this is not a pipeline problem. Just at Onramp for us, we have over 60,000 people on our platform that are trying to break into tech. I would hard say, no, this is not a pipeline problem issue. It's a systemic oppression problem. So some ways that we're seeing this, right, pop up. First and foremost, I want to start with sourcing and screening, right? So when we're talking about sourcing folks and screening folks, number one, we're requiring degrees. So why are we doing that? You know, is really the question. We're talking about hiring folks, can't just be hiring from the top colleges and the folks have a computer science major. If you look at the data, the latest stat that I've seen is that 83% of Latino folks and 76% of Black folks do not have college degrees. I'm not even talking about in computer science. So when you're recruiting at universities, you're already, you know, eliminating about 80% of Black and brown folks. So let's stop requiring degrees. Then let's talk about referrals. I can't, this is my thing. I can't get off the referral bandwagon, I'm sorry. So the stat out there is that 85% of jobs are hired via personal referral. So 85% of jobs, personal referral. Then I saw another stat that was very interesting. Somebody posted on Twitter that 91% of white people's friends are white. So sit with that for a second, right? 91% of white people's friends are white, and 85% of jobs are hired via personal referral. So how the heck, y'all? How the heck are Black and brown women, you know, supposed to get these jobs, right? We're not in the room to even be referred. We're not friends. We're not texting, oh, did you see this job that came out? We're not connected on LinkedIn. We're not Facebook friends, and we're not on Instagram following each other. We're just, you know, not running in the same circles. So referrals, you know, are not working for us on a large scale. Folks keep flagging the same people, looking at the same applicants. And I know talent folks, you are strapped, right? It is hard. You can't be reading every single application, of course. And it saves time to, you know, folks are flagged. There we go. You know, but change isn't easy, and we need to move differently if we want different results. So we can't keep recruiting in the same places. We can't be in the same communities. We're not connected. You know, we're not in the same Discord groups. We're not in the same Slack groups. We're not building community together. So we really have to look at that differently. On the other side, and y'all know, poaching, right? Y'all are in this industry. I know the recruiters are hitting you up and trying to poach you from one company to the other. But you know, some of us aren't even in positions to be poached. So this is an issue too, right? We need to make sure we're building that pipeline and getting folks in to make sure that we can even be poached and we can be brought from one company to the other. But if we're not in, nobody's going to be taking us. So the other piece is bias in interviews, right? Just from your name on your resume, the experience that you're bringing, and the whiteboard interview. Folks, you all go ahead. I know people have feelings about the whiteboard interview. It's not assessing people for the skills that they need in that job. You all know you've been through it. So let's eliminate that as part of the process. It is quite a barrier. So the other things I just want to touch on quickly is lower investment in upskilling. So we know now, the research shows that upskilling retains employees. 98% of tech workers consider strong training and upskilling an important feature of prospective employers. But employers now are like, no, that's okay, y'all, upskill yourself, right? Go to that boot camp, figure it out, do it on your own time. They're passing the buck, but that is not the way we need to be moving. And then we're looking at reviews, promotions, mentoring. There's a lot of research out there. You can read all the reports, the lean-in studies that are out there. Lots of research about women of color not being reviewed in the same way, not given feedback in the same way. Again, not being connected to mentors or sponsors, overlooked for promotions. The cycle is endless. And then throw in there the toxic environment for underrepresented minorities. Y'all know you've lived it. We can do another chat on that, but that's for another time. So there are the reasons why, including what folks have put in, why this talent system is broken. So bear with me now, because I am here with a solution for you to make this jump for us. What we really believe, and hopefully you do too, is that apprenticeships are a huge solution, right, to this broken talent system and this problem. But I want to, level the playing field here a little bit and make sure that everybody knows what an apprenticeship is. Okay, so if any folks in the chat, have experience with an apprenticeship, or if you know anything about it, or if you know companies that have them, or the kinds of positions, throw them in there, please. Let's spread the knowledge. So yes, what the heck is an apprenticeship, right? And what is this anything to do with this talent broken system that I've been talking about? So first of all, apprenticeships, the 101, the quick and dirty here are that they're earn and learn programs, right? So they combine formal learning with on the job training experiences. So a candidate's going to receive training and mentorship that they're going to need to develop proficiency in the targeted areas and soft skills to prepare them for success. So the other piece then is that they're guided and supported by an advanced expert in the work. So you earn a wage during the program, and then you have the opportunity to convert to full-time employment at the end. Canadian apprenticeships reach out to me individually. We do some work with some companies that are sourcing in Canada for sure, but I'll get back to you on that one to answer you properly. Then as far as the amount of time, some apprenticeships run for 4 months, and then some run over 2 years. And I'm only talking about apprenticeships in the United States right now. Then you go abroad, where their governments are actually really committed to apprenticeships, and they can last 4 years. They can be coupled with college degrees, but we're not so advanced here in the United States. So what kind of apprenticeships are out there? We're talking about, it's a little bit of the wild, wild west, to be honest with you. So there are registered apprenticeships. So those, you have to go through a formal process through the Department of Labor or through individual states, where folks need to complete a certain number of hours, or they get different training components and different competencies that they have to be able to meet and acquire. And at the end, they end up with a certification. So there are also non-registered apprenticeships where, companies make up their own apprenticeship experience, and there's nothing wrong with this. In the tech industry, we see it quite a bit. And then, the experience is enough for folks where they can move and shake and get other positions after they've done a non-registered apprenticeship. In other industries, it's not necessarily the case, and you see them a little bit more formalized. So the other piece is that you can have programs that target folks with different kinds of experiences. So starting from zero, right? Starting from scratch. They haven't had any experience coding. And then there are some apprenticeships where they're asking folks with some experience. They're saying, no, you at least need to have completed a boot camp or 1 year of self-taught work. So you can see the whole gamut in different apprentices. And that's why the the difference in the amount of time, they could be 4 months or 2 years are in there. And I see, yes, some great resources there of some incredible partners that are in the space, and we'll get to some of those too. So the other piece is, in varying skill sets and positions. So, you see the whole gamut of very entry-level work in IT developers all the way to software engineers, in digital marketing and sales and UX, UI, and HR, from data analysts to data scientists to data engineers and cybersecurity. And then for specific populations. So there are apprenticeships for caregivers, or really our returnships. We can go back and forth about which is which. For justice involved folks, there are apprenticeships for veterans, for folks of color, for women. And the other piece is, the federal government is really investing in this. Billions of dollars through the Department of Labor, the Department of Commerce is investing in building this infrastructure. And then the state of California alone is investing $231 million this year in apprenticeship. So when you're thinking about this for your company, right, you have to think about, what are your goals, right? What does your headcount look like? What are the needs? Is this for really entry-level folks? Is it for higher skilled folks? Is it for your future leadership? What about with mission alignment with the population that you want to be serving in an apprenticeship? Or are you just looking for the top diverse entry-level talent, which, I'm always here for. So, great. Here are some, somebody asked about a website where you can easily find apprenticeships. I've got you right here. It's updated for the most part, thanks to a friend of mine, Frances Coronel. So apprenticeships.me has a decent site there for you to check out, and a great starting spot. A lot of companies that are doing this individually, LinkedIn, Intuit, Airbnb, Asana, Pinterest, Twitter, Twilio, Lyft, you can all read. Through Onramp for us, that we partner with Twitch, Blend, SiriusXM, Coinbase, Amazon, Realtor.com. If you're looking for different kinds of positions, not just in tech, I'd check out the Department of Labor, apprenticeship.gov. Aon and Accenture are really incredible leaders in the corporate space for these positions. And then, Microsoft Leap has been at this game since 2006. Adobe, Academy, IBM, and then with specific, demographics, I'm just calling out a few. There are way more than this. Not everybody's included in this list. I should have opened with that. But with returnships, pathforward.org as a great partner for formerly incarcerated folks, the Last Mile and Next Chapter working together, launching a lot of programs and mission alignment there with some companies. And then for veterans and spouses, hiring our heroes, Skill Bridge, that's really built out in an impressive way. Amazon, and then third-party intermediaries, of course, our team at Onramp, Bitwise, CompTIA, Open Classroom, Catalyte, Merit, Apprentice, and lots of boot camps and other folks. And I saw some too in the chat there at Tech Systems and Multiverse and different folks that are in the game. If you're trying to set up an apprenticeship, there's no lack of support out there in the industry for you. So, why, right? I talked about who's doing it, where they are, but the question really is about why. And I could go on all day, but I have 4 main points for you for today here. Number one, this is the sword that I die on here, on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. That really, we need to bring in new talent pipelines to diversify the workforce. This is critical. We can't keep doing the same things. And the other piece is, what's great about an apprenticeship is you're bringing in folks in a cohort model. So this really is helpful when you're talking about inclusion and belonging, right? You're not going to be an only, you're going to be there in the space of your cohort and be able to lean on to folks. And you're building the ecosystem, right? Once you have these folks now at your company, they're going to open the door to their network. And then we're talking about the 85% of folks are hired by referral. Okay, here are your diverse folks that are going to be saying, oh, I know my friend who can get in here. And then it starts changing the demographics. So another huge piece is career changers. We're talking about highly motivated, curious, agile folks who doesn't want to hire a career changer, right? You're talking about somebody who is taking a boot camp, is completing a boot camp while they're doing a full-time job, or they're taking care of their kids and they're self-taught, working on the side. Like, talk about incredible work ethic and hustle, right? And folks that are trying to go after different opportunities. The other piece too are these are qualities that you value in folks, right? That they're agile, that they're curious, that they're excited to learn about new technologies. You need that to be successful in the industry. So, the other piece is that they know how to work, right? They're not, no offense, not fresh out of college, not with a lot of work experience, but these are folks that have worked. They know how to work with others. They have a ton of soft skills. For Onramp, our partners keep saying that our apprentices are promoting faster than their university grads. And to me, no doubt that that's happening because folks have these soft life skills, right? The hard skills you can learn, but the soft skills folks who are career changers come in with. The other piece, it's going to impact the DNA of your company, right? So start early if possible. You want to create a company culture where they value employees, they value mentoring, they value diversity, and they value upskilling. And if you wait until it's too late, right, it's really difficult to move the needle and have that impact. So if you're small, start your apprenticeship. It's a great, never too late to do it, but the earlier the better, in my opinion. And the last piece really is that this is a strategic investment, right? And you're investing in your future leadership. And employees who feel invested, they stay longer in their positions. The apprentices are trained by the company's invested in them. They're new to the industry, they want to grow and be mentored within that company. We're seeing that they stay much longer than university grads and other folks. And here you are, you're going to finally get the future diverse leaders. Everybody wants, we want mid-level diverse leaders. Well, here they are, your apprentices. They'll be there in no time if you're hiring the right folks, for sure. So there are some, I can go on forever. All right. The other piece is talent retention. So, think about for yourself, why are you staying in your job? Maybe before all these layoffs are happening, people are a little bit anxious now and sitting tight, but, why did you stay at your company? What kept you there? And for us, we really believe that apprenticeships really help folks stay at their company. I'm talking about the folks that are already there, the mentors and the supervisors. So you're giving the mentors and the leaders, opportunities, right? To be able to connect with folks. Then you're also changing the company culture. This isn't about diversity theater. We've seen plenty of that, right? An apprenticeship, really shows that a company's putting their money where their mouth is, and they're really committed to DEI. The other part is you're getting folks that are coming in that are energetic and they're engaged, they're super excited. And right now, where there are a lot of articles about it that because of the layoffs and the industry in general and coming off the pandemic, the morale is a bit low, right? And then you're bringing in folks that are coming in, fresh blood that's eager to work and able to engage mentors and supervisors. The other piece that it does is really, creates a lot of cross-functional work and brings cohesiveness to teams. So you're talking about HR, working with DEI, working with L&D, working with talent, and working with hiring managers. So bringing folks together is always a positive thing. And then they're doing mission-aligned work, right? We're talking about changing lives. Onramp specifically, 3.5x of salary. People are able to buy houses, they're able to buy cars, they're able to pay off loans. We're talking about impacting generational wealth, right? Really moving the needle, changing lives, changing families, and changing communities. And the last piece too is that roles stay filled, right? There's less burnout and you have more balanced employees. So just helping y'all make the case if it's necessary. Maybe you're wondering why now? Odette, why are you talking to me about this now? We don't have time for this. We don't have money for this. We don't have the energy for this. Well, it's critical, no? So committing now, to hiring in an equitable way. We're already too late to this game of hiring in an equitable way, so let's get on it. Talent teams also are not as overwhelmed in this moment. They're not overwhelmed with filling headcount. And get systems in place now, right? Invest in your infrastructure and get ready because you know that upturn is coming. We're not going to stay like this, not hiring folks forever. So the other part is you have apprenticeship partners. Lean on us. You see folks in the audience, all over the place, trying to make sure we can get apprentices everywhere. Lean on us. We can help support your lean teams. The other part we're seeing now in the industry, there's a lot of cutting of DEI folks. It puts the pressure on talent folks. Where are you going to get your diverse talent pool? Well, here it is, your apprenticeship. And it's a way for a company to say, all right, we're really digging into our values now. Now when you're making these difficult decisions about what you're cutting and not. So the other piece is as folks are bouncing around, right? They're moving from one company to another, or they're laid off, and now they're looking, a bunch of software engineers looking at different positions, and they're trying to see who's really committed to DEI. What place is going to be a good spot for me to land? And an apprenticeship is a great way to give that signal to folks. And like I said, you can engage your current workforce during these challenging times. Folks are exhausted, right? They're unengaged. They need a little something new up in there. And then the other piece is, folks are worried about budget and spending. Well, let's bring in folks that are coming in at lower starting wages, right? I'm not saying to not pay them equitably. We're always making sure we're trying to get folks the highest salaries possible with their apprenticeships. But they are going to start at a lower wage, and then our folks are promoting faster. They're going to stay longer. You're going to have lower churn. So it's quite an investment. And then there's the federal and the state funds to support your process. All right. So what now? How do you make this happen as we're wrapping up here? Hopefully y'all are thinking, okay, Odette, this sounds great. How can I do this, right? Or how can I make this happen? So, I want you to think about any other changes or initiatives that you've led at your companies and you've implemented to make it happen. So what were the keys to that, right? Usually it takes enlisting others. You have to be the evangelist and the champion. And you don't need the entire company, right? You need yourself. You could be, maybe you're the one signing off on approval. There are a lot of folks in this room who I imagine can do that. And if you're not, then you need to find somebody who's going to sign off on this. But you only need one, right? And then you need your advocates and your change makers. You need to figure out, okay, how are we really aligned with this mission? How am I going to sell this to folks? What are the needs of my company? And then what teams are they going to sit on, right? What makes sense? And who are going to be the direct supervisors and the mentors that are going to support these folks? Those really are critical, to ensure the success of the company. So, and you have to make sure you have your head count, of course. You want to make sure at the end of the apprenticeship that folks can convert to full-time employees. And yeah, that you have the budget, that you can spread it across, with Eng and L&D and HR and DEI. And you want to make sure that you pilot this. You need your proof of concept. You make sure you have great conversion rates. People want to see the data there. And then it catches on like wildfire. That's what we saw at Twitch. They started with an apprenticeship of 6. They loved, the talent and the apprentices, and they were promoting very quickly. And then other teams wanted to bring folks on. So, you want to make sure that you're finding the right talent in that first cohort is real strong. So get your recruiting, your sourcing, and your interviewing set up for potential, not for the current positions that you already have, and get your training in place. And we have, like I told you, you're not alone. This is not rocket science, to figure this out. There are experts in the field, but we're here to support you and figure this out. And there are so many companies, as you saw, already doing this to make it happen. So I want to leave you with a story of Jomarie. She was a Twitch apprentice. She actually grew up in Jersey. Proud Jersey girl over there, Dominican, and went to a private high school and took one computer science class in high school, and said, like nobody looked like her, and that she thought she didn't belong in the space. She went to college. She got her BS in nutrition sciences, and after graduation, she ended up being a sales manager at anthropology and at Urban Outfitters. And then she landed at a recruiting firm, was there for 5 months in 2020, and the pandemic hit. So she was unemployed and was like, you know what, I sort of liked, this coding stuff. Let me get back into that, to see, as she was trying to figure out an upskill and nobody was hiring. She went to finish this boot camp and then found out about Onramp and our apprenticeship with Twitch through a Discord group that she was a part of from this boot camp. And she now is an SDE2 at Twitch. She's been promoted twice. She's freaking incredible. She is here. You can see the picture of her there in the middle. That's Jomarie. She was on the stage with the Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, sharing her story and spreading the good word about apprenticeships. She's now able, she pays her own rent in San Francisco, just no small feat, we know. Is able to help out her family, and now is mentoring other apprentices, running workshops on self-confidence and communication and asking questions. And it's just doing the thing. So proud of Jomarie and all the work that she's doing, and who she will be at Twitch in the future. So I leave you with just that we need you, that this is very personal for me. I said I needed to pay my bills and put food on the table and house my kids, but really the work that I do here on Ramp is because I want a better world, for my kids and future generations and all underrepresented folks out there. So, I want to see as many apprenticeships out there as possible. We need you. It only takes one person's idea, one person mobilizing folks internally to create these life-changing opportunities for folks. So it's time to step up and change the tech industry. So I hope you leave this, thinking about how you can make this happen. If you're thinking about it, if you're ready to rock and roll, reach out to me, other experts out there, and let's change the world and get as many opportunities for folks of color out there as possible. So thank you for your time. And I'm happy to take some questions. Maybe I'm out of time and went over it.
No, you're all set. Time for questions. And there were a lot out there, and a lot revolved around people, especially that were interested also in getting those apprenticeships. So I want to thank you so much for talking, and we'll jump into some of those. One of the first ones that we got was kind of centered around, what's the process for finding an apprenticeship, and how do you know if it's legit, not something that's, a scam or a trick or not going to treat you well, something like that?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. I mean, I would start the apprenticeships.me is a great place to start looking at apprenticeships that are out there. Usually, if the company's legit, the apprenticeship is legit, is the advice that I would give you. And, you can go read reviews, see what's happening for folks, reach out to folks who have done apprenticeships at those companies and get some feedback and see how those experiences have been. You can always reach out to and ask me or any folks in this industry if, about experiences with those companies.
Awesome. Do you think there will still be apprenticeships available given the current environment with layoffs?
That's a great question. Yes. I think that there are less in some companies, that have overhired, but there are definitely companies that are still hiring and still trying to build out their apprenticeship programs. I'm in talks every day with companies that are trying to set up apprenticeship programs as we speak. Not everybody has overhired and not everybody is laying folks off. So the apprenticeships are still out there. Keep your eyes peeled. Unfortunately, they are a little bit of like the best kept secret, and they're hard to figure out when they're happening, or they're posted very quickly and then taken down. So you have to be tapped into the network to know when they're coming up.
Diversity is to inclusion as apprenticeship is to what? I did one and it helped me get a job and start my career, but I've faced difficulty finding support to keep growing in place. Can you help Amber answer that?
Sure. Let me just take another second here to read this. No jobs are career face to find support to keep growing in place. Yes, I think this is the tricky part, that some set folks up for success a little bit better than others. But I've heard from folks that have done various apprenticeships, right, that I wouldn't give up after just doing one. Just like your experience at any company, maybe you have a great experience with one for one reason, or your mentor or your supervisor is fabulous, and in another it's not, right? That's what you're going to find in the working world in every way. So I wouldn't give up on that and trying to make your transition.
Absolutely. For companies that are looking to institute an apprenticeship, how do they navigate the waters between understanding the difference between an apprenticeship and an internship?
This is a great question. So with internships, the differentiator that I see is that it doesn't lead to immediate conversion. First and foremost, right? You're having folks coming in their junior year, their sophomore year, and then they're coming back years later for full-time employment. With the apprenticeship, it's the training happens right before, and the end goal is for full-time employment immediately after the apprenticeship. So you're committing to folks in a different way, and it's not a marketing ploy. Sometimes internships are marketing ploys, right? Apprenticeships are really about moving the needle and getting folks into the position immediately.
And I know there was some fear in the chat surrounding good gravy. Now I'm on internships.
It's all good.
Apprenticeships, and with someone taking it on, is that going to put them in a potential for debt, or is that going to make them financially unstable? What does that look like in a pay scale?
Sure. So let me separate those two things, because apprenticeships, you're getting paid, right? This is the main difference, in it's earn and learn. So you're getting paid while you're learning on the job in an apprenticeship. So you should not be getting in debt. I mean, if the pay is not high enough for you to meet your needs, that's a different story. But maybe what you're referring to with getting in debt is maybe participating in a boot camp or doing some different kind of upskilling on that end. But that's not required for apprenticeships. And while you're in an apprenticeship, you're getting paid.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for answering that, kind of clarifying. I don't think we have any more questions. So I'm going to go ahead and say, thank you to all of the audience members who participated, not just in the questions, but I saw really amazing content in a lot of the chat going on while you were asking them to participate. And so a big thank you to the active audience participation. A major thanks to you, Odette, for sharing about apprenticeships, sharing how we can kind of fix that talent system and get more talent, more diversity in the industry. And so I just want to thank everyone for being here today. We're getting ready to start some other sessions throughout the conference. There's only a little bit of time left. I know it's been a lot of fun, but be sure to check out the one-on-one networking. Check out the expo if you haven't been there yet. And of course, don't miss out on the closing this evening, daytime, whatever time it is for you, wherever you might be. It'd be evening for me. And I just hope everyone is enjoying Women Who Code Connect Empowered 2023 and enjoys the rest of the time here. Thank you so much for being here, Odette, and have a great rest of your day.
And thanks to you, Molly. Y'all are fabulous.